this started.
Sure.
Welcome everyone to workshop 6 of the Metaverse Blockathon that Blockathon DAO is currently running. Blockathon DAO is a learn-to-earn entrepreneurship education initiative dedicated to providing opportunities for people to onboard the Web3 industry. We do this via 2 mechanisms. Either one, people can join our Blockathon competitions, which allow them to work with world-leading experts in their fields in Web3 in order to compete for prizes at the end of the Blockathon. Or 2, complete bounties provided on our banner platform that have been issued by our partners and sponsors of Blockathon DAO. So with us today, we have Panda, Chief Blockchain Officer of Reality Chain, and Adam, CEO of Reality Chain, to do a talk on the history and the evolution of the metaverse. So thank you all, and looks like Pandu to take it away.
Thank you. I'm going to be opening this, and then Adam can also. Adam has his own set of slides.
Sure.
I'm going to begin with my set of slides and also share about my experiences in the metaverse. I've been on the metaverse for a bit longer than a lot of people have. I've been in the metaverse for around 10 years, and that's why the theme of today's discussion would be the origin and evolution and how Web3 changes the game for the metaverse. We are from realitychain.io. You can open that in your browser, and there are demo worlds available to open. This is a metaverse that we're creating based on our learnings on what the metaverse currently is, where the metaverse started from, and how Web3 changes things, and how Reality Chain is trying to do things to ensure that the users get the best experience as well as the best sovereignty. So I'll just begin. So one of the things that we need to remember about the metaverse, the concept of the metaverse itself is sort of older than a lot of us think. So there's Descartes created a thought experiment, Descartes' demon, where a demon controls your very reality and provides you illusions that changes what you think is real into what you believe to be real is not real. This is through magical thinking, of course. It's not technological, but that is an early form of what the metaverse could be. In fact, something that is arguably more early is Buddhist Zen tradition, which actually said the same thing, where Krishna went to a person and gave him the illusion of living as a woman for a whole lifetime. And then when within that world, that woman had children, and the children died, and after the children's death, Krishna appeared and asked, "Why are you crying? This is just an illusion." The allegory of Plato's cave also came from historical perspectives, and when you look at it, it is actually a true metaverse in almost the technological sense, but like in the technological based sense. A group of people just whose only experience of the world are shadows on the wall of a cave. Once they are faced with the real world, they're very surprised because they thought the real world was just the shadows. And looking at real objects, they feel it being not real. That experience is something that is almost universal. There are concepts of other worlds, illusionary worlds in almost every culture. Now, the metaverse itself, as a technological concept, after Plato's cave, was first discussed in William Gibson's Neuromancer. Within Neuromancer, the metaverse was not called metaverse; it was called cyberspace, and in fact, cyberspace became a buzzword and sort of like reduced in terms of impact. But really, when William Gibson created this realm of cyberspace, he envisioned it as a digital world where there is a physical, physical way of looking at things, and cyberspace was actually co-opted by back then one of the first communities that sort of declared themselves cyberspace was the Whole Earth Electronic Link. It's deliberately misspelled, Whole Earth Electronic, meaning electronic link, or spelled well. And well was a community which thought of itself as cyberspace. And that's actually the initiation of it back then. This is back in the 90s, 80s, the conception of cyberspace. And then Neil Stephenson, of course, many of us here are very interested in the metaverse. Of course, we understand the impact of Snow Crash and the way the metaverse was created as a word within that book. The concept is older than you think, but the word is relatively new. And that's sort of like, we've always been fascinated as human beings about the concept of an artificial virtual world, an illusion that is more real than real. And that's actually something that we are now bringing into like more stark definition. Now, this definition is, of course, arguable. A lot of people have different definitions, but this is a definition that I prefer. It's a virtual community which has physical analogies, and it's an if you're a gamer, the way we sort of inform gamers about what a metaverse is, it is a non-competitive MMORPG. Okay, the physical analogies part means two things. One is that each user has an avatar, and avatar is an old Sanskrit word. It means the son or incarnation of deity. And this is actually a persistent representation of self-identity. And this is quite interesting because there's multiple academic studies that cite that if you have an avatar in the metaverse and you're used to that avatar, you can even feel pain, or you can even feel loss or things like if the avatar suffers something. And that's something that is key for the creation of the metaverse, a persistent avatar that is owned by the user. Search for the Wikipedia article Proteus effect if you want to learn about this further. Secondly, each LAN, the second physical analogy I should say, is that each LAN has an in-world location relative to other LANs and the metaverse geography. Okay, and the goal is not to score points or win. So this is different from other MMORPGs. It's non-competitive. That means you don't score points. Like, you can score points, but that's not the goal. You can score points. Highlight that. Gamification can exist within the metaverse, but if you don't want to play, it's fine. You don't have to win. The goal is to build parcels, building, exploring, and interacting, as well as engaging in virtual commerce. So the engine actually does not require photorealism to build immersion. So this is sort of like an additive. A lot of people are thinking that the metaverse needs to be VR, needs to be augmented reality, needs to be high tech in terms of changing your mediating your reality and then replacing your reality with something else. The truth is, even an engine that is not photoreal, in fact, an engine that is not supposed to be realistic at all, such as Habbo Hotel, such as Reality Game that we're trying to build as well for its first engine. As long as it's socially immersive, as long as it has chat, voice, and quasi-physical interaction, you can be immersed and you can feel that you are actually part of that world and your avatar is you. So, a lot of people ask this, and since cyberspace used to be a very loose definition and included everything, so the first question would be, if it's just social, what about Telegram and WhatsApp and other chat apps? Are those a metaverse as well? Are those metaverses as well? Now, they do have social interaction, but they don't have avatars and they don't have any physical world analogy. That means they don't have physical analogy. So the verdict, arguably, Telegram, WhatsApp, and other chats are not metaverses. The same is true with the current platform we're using, Zoom. Zoom is not considered a metaverse because we don't, even though we are currently in a room, and arguably a room is a physical analogy, it is a very shallow physical analogy. We still feel like we don't have gestures, we can't move against each other, I can't bring you around my room, for example. Okay, Counter-Strike, Half-Life, PUBG. They do have avatars, they have some social interaction, but these are primarily goal-oriented. Okay, of course, mods to this might be different. A lot of mods change the game to a way that almost makes it a metaverse. But like for the plain vanilla ones, since it's goal-oriented, then the verdict is no. So, and again, metaverses can still have gamification elements. There's a lot of games on top of Second Life, for example, but you need to be able to not play. That's the option of not playing. That's what the metaverse makes the metaverse the metaverse. GTA Online, Minecraft, and Fortnite. Of course, it has avatars, it has social interactions, and there are goals. Goals are mission-linked though. Now, if you don't do any of the missions, it is actually a metaverse. It's a different class of metaverse. It's called the game emergent metaverse, a metaverse that emerges from a game. So it wasn't designed to be a metaverse at the beginning, and then became a metaverse due to its open world nature, avatars, social interaction, and the ability to not do games, to not play games on top of it. So these are sort of like more edge definitions of these cases. Okay, so there's another redefinition that actually appears. This was right before blockchains, right before crypto, with the focus in ownership. Okay, so Second Life actually started this, and I'll show you very soon. The assimilation of something called sovereign ownership, right? So Linden Labs, who created Second Life, created a marketplace for land and item ownership. Okay, but the thing is, these are all centralized servers. These are all databases that are handled by Linden Labs. They do have a massive amount of servers, though, and they do have a massive amount of hosts that they basically partner with. But they're still basically centralized servers that are clustered together, right? So the definition of land and item ownership is controlled by Linden Labs. And this actually happened to me. There is an issue with my land subscription, land ownership. I've owned land in Second Life since 2012, 2013. And then I lost the land back in 2017. But the land, even now, is still there. Let me show you. This is my land. Adam, I don't think even Adam has seen this. Like, this is my old Museum of Computing. It's still there. I think you can still see my photo there. I built this entire thing. I don't own this anymore because Linden Labs currently owns it. All of this, the intellectual property of this entire thing, is not owned by me anymore. I don't even have access to edit this. Yet it still stands. And people still come in. That's my photo right there with Trump. Huh. So it's a very sad loss for myself. But yeah, so ownership actually is a very important thing within the metaverse itself, and the lack of decentralized ownership was actually a problem. Such so that actually Open Simulator, which is a fork of Second Life, created sort of like not improved, that actually opened up the engine of Second Life, and then tries to do item and land ownership through what is called federated servers, which means you can host your own Open Simulator servers. So there's still user ownership, but there's also server ownership. So server ownership is basically like world ownership. We call it top-level world ownership. Now, user ownership of items, though, might not be persistent across top-level worlds and might not be persistent across servers. Okay. So on the right, of course, here we come to like 2019, 2018, where the crypto proto-metaverse is from crypto voxels. Of course, Somnium Space, Sandbox. They have item and land ownership through NFTs. The NFTs are on blockchain. The blockchain keeps track of users' ownerships, but there's still issues with the multi-chain interoperability of these metaverses. Okay, so this is the problem statement. Even for the crypto metaverses, it improved on a lot of things, but there's still interoperability problems between one blockchain and another. So, okay, so this one is actually, I just made this slide. This is actually based on a talk I did several years ago at the Anatomy of a Metaverse. And this is actually why we created Reality Chain. And it basically analyzes the metaverse into four distinct areas. One is LAN. As mentioned previously, Second Life has a single top-level world. And there's server-level estates, then owner-level parcels. So you can own a server, a Second Life employee can own a server, can run a server as an estate, and then under the estates there are multiple parcels. Okay, if you're a user, you cannot buy an estate. You can only buy a parcel in most cases. You can actually buy an estate back then, but now I don't think you are able to buy anymore. Correct me if I'm wrong. I haven't been active in the community for years, but like back then, estates was like only given to very for very limited people, like the people who are partnering with us. So OpenSim basically adds multiple worlds. So it's not just a top-level world. There are multiple worlds. There are examples in the following slides, and I'll show you later. Okay, for crypto, it's actually not as advanced. So crypto metaverses, crypto proto-metaverses are absolutely not advanced. Crypto voxels is a monolithic server, right? They do have, it's run in a way that makes it like from an infrastructure perspective quite resilient, but it's still owned by a company, which is the crypto voxels, the voxels company currently owned by Ben Nolan. So the parcel ownership is 100% sovereign based on NFTs, but the top level world itself is monolithic. There's no persistent experience, as in, okay, so the top level, there's no multiple worlds. And if you see, like, from crypto voxels to Somnium space, there's no persistent experience. You can't move over items from one place to another. That interoperability is not there. Items on the bottom here. Second Life and Game Emergent metaverses. Engines basically already have item ownership. They have something that is persistent, commercial, but it is centralized, so it's the same as LAN. There's not a lot of incentives for devs to interoperate items from one game to another because each of the games are making money for themselves. And OpenSim, cheap items. So for Open Simulator, any user can upload items. So for Vox, etc., it's very little value for the digital item. So it's not it's easy because it's easy upload is very cheap. Okay. For crypto, most of the times items are sovereign and may have value, but not always interoperable. And in fact, in crypto voxels, for example, digital items are also cheap. Any user can upload if it's just furniture, for example. I'll show you later how it's done. On the top right, avatars and wearables. So Second Life, avatar and identity ownership is centralized username structures, just like Facebook, just like Twitter. So it's a persistent top level world which deals with the usernames. Okay, wearables are sold within the centralized marketplace. So wearables are the things that avatars wear. In OpenSim, each server determines their own avatar and identity system, and the wearables are cheaply uploadable. Okay, we'll show later. Wearables are in crypto, of course. As you know, you can buy shoes for as an NFT for 7 Ethereum, for example, right? So wearables can be very valuable. Can be is the keyword. It can not be also, but like it can be very valuable. It is sovereign because you own it and you it's not based on a third-party ownership, and it's also decentralized, but it's not always interoperable. In fact, it's mostly not interoperable, even though there are several metaverse engines that are trying to fix that, like Webverse, for example, and Reality Chain is also trying to fix that as well. So in terms of social, and I'm adding accessibility to social as well. So for Second Life, OpenSim, and Somnium Space, social interactions are very good if you've already registered and downloaded the application. The applications are pretty, well, for today's standards, not huge, but you still need to download, okay? And secondly, you need to register to be able to come in and visit. Now, this actually creates a barrier, a social barrier, because like if you have, like for example, a gallery, and you're you put a QR code that connects to your Second Life parcel next to your collection of paintings. You cannot basically you cannot expect the user to come into that QR code and then open their laptop and then download an application and come in. there's a barrier there. So it's a social barrier. Why? Because it actually makes it harder for people to participate, which is why the parties within Second Life has never reached like tens of thousands. And the parties in crypto voxels actually have reached tens of thousands. Like I've personally hosted a party. I hosted a party on crypto voxels last year, which is 8,000 users. Not even the most. Like 8,000 is not huge. 8,000 is pretty good, but like there are bigger parties. Okay, so why? Because crypto voxels and Nissan Plan and Reality Chain, what we're building, you don't need to register and you don't need to download the application to come in world because everything runs on your browser. And in addition, for crypto voxels and Reality Chain, we're fully mobile ready. We have a casual experience with mobile chat for Reality Chain. For crypto voxels, there are still issues in terms of building. So you can't really build in world, but Reality Chain, we try to make it very fully mobile ready. Okay, so we're trying to solve the remaining issues of the crypto metaverse because we want to initiate a semi-federated architecture on top of the decentralized Web3 ownership. Okay, deep dive one by one. Hopefully this is not too much information. I'm just going to show in images. On the bottom right is the one you just saw, my Second Life plan. Okay, so there are multiple types, of course, of parcels. Okay, this is a Second Life parcel. There is also somewhere here is my crypto voxels parcel. One of my crypto voxels parcel, I should say. That's my photo. And there is another one, which is the this is the 2D verse parcel, but like I think I spent too long away from it, so it died. Okay, so the parcels are sort of like the minimum unit of ownership of land. Okay, so the minimum unit of ownership is owned by the users. Sandbox has the same thing. And the cool thing about Sandbox is that you can combine multiple land into one estate. Okay, so parcels are sort of like the base definition. You can combine usually for some engines you can combine. For engines like crypto voxels you cannot. Currently for Reality Chain we are not able to yet, but like we're looking into that. So go up one bit, just zoom out. We see the map, and the map you can have multiple islands within one map. This is the crypto voxels map, okay? And the crypto voxels map includes multiple islands. It doesn't mean that each island is a different server. All this is the same server. It's still monolithic. I think they're trying to decentralize, but I'm not sure where they are in terms of decentralizing the infra perspective right now. Now, for Second Life, now this looks the same, right? Both are maps, but Second Life is actually a cluster of servers. That's the way they were configured. So they have like around, 2,000 servers at last point. I think I saw a number that says that. And those servers all host different parts of the map. Like this map might be hosted by one server. This part of the map might be hosted by another server. To walk or fly from one map to another, the engine automatically loads the new map and performs the handshake between two servers. Okay, it's not apparent. It looks like one map. It is actually multiple maps that is hosted in a cluster. Okay. Now the key here, though, Second Life only has one cluster, the Linden Labs cluster. Linden Labs is basically the one that created Second Life. So it's a cluster of servers that are still monolithic in terms of governance, in terms of control. So OpenSim on the top left here looks ugly, but this is actually the most expensive. This is actually different clusters, different grids is what we call them. So New World Grid, OS Grid, these are like different groups of servers, right? So these are different, what we call top-level worlds, right? So one world and another might not be as interoperable, but like within one world, you are extremely interoperable up to the point of each of you can host your own server and connect to these worlds and just claim a spot on the map, okay, on the hypermap, so to speak. Okay, so this is the way metaverses are done. Thing is, cryptovoxels, this is the top level. Like there's no other world than this. You can't go higher at the moment. And Second Life, this is the top level. And OpenSIM is actually like the highest level in terms of like there are multiple regions here. So because this is something that's like we refer to as federated, the way they are hosted is federated, and the way you know the ownership is done is also federated, where each of these clusters of servers are actually owned and governed by different companies or different groups or communities. Okay, Open Simulator is not crypto, by the way. So crypto does not have an equivalent to this yet. Even though RealityCan is researching it, there's no crypto solution or crypto metaverse that actually has this yet, which is ironic, of course, because crypto is supposed to be most decentralized, but this is actually more decentralized than any of the crypto metaverses. Okay, next, items. And we're zooming in. If you notice, previously it was 300%, now we're zooming into items, which is 200%. Yeah, so a lot of people assume that marketplaces came because of NFTs. Actually, Second Life Marketplace is a decade old, more than a decade old. I think they started in 2008, 2009, and they sell furniture, right? So the cool thing about furniture is that these are usable items. So there are different types of items. Of course, there are items that you can import, and then like just for example, paintings that you put on the wall. Second Life, you can also do that. We call them cheap importing or cheap items that you don't really need to buy from anyone because you're uploading yourself for free. Many such examples exist, like this painting or the painting on the wall here, that can probably be uploaded for free. Okay, but you can also buy items in Second Life, and these are usually utilitarian items or utility items. Items that you can sit on, for example, items that you can put items on, items that you can sleep on, pillows with animation. You see here 4 people, 17 animation. And for cryptovoxels, most of the items, actually most of the non-furniture items, not anything that you are, anything that you are not wearing, is basically an item that is cheaply uploadable. So you can basically just upload a Vox file, VOX file, into the vault, and it basically becomes a chair. That's the way CryptoVoxels does it. How do you do that? By controlling the animation of the avatar manually. So that's not really the item that has the utility, it's just the avatar. You can basically change the movement of the avatar or the pose of the avatar, so you know, you can sit on top of a chair, even though the chair itself has no such capability. This is actually a devolution from Second Life, because Second Life actually has animations built into the items. Okay, so another type of that we're trying to actually create within RealityCan is furniture, as in building materials that can be uploaded as NFTs. So furnitures can be uploaded as NFTs, walls can be uploaded as NFTs, and these are required for building, and you'll see this how we build soon. And once they are uploaded as NFTs, either within Ethereum or within the Near ecosystem, currently we have 2 chains, you would be able to use them in world to build, okay, to build using these blocks. If it's an NFT which has no utility, you can still import them in world. They will just appear like this. They will not have utility. You cannot sit on a painting, of course. You can just put them on your wall. Now this is actually more fun. Avatars and wearables, slightly even more fun. Items are fun, but these are really cool, because this actually goes to the way we are defining things within within wearables. So are we defining them in a way that is hard, or defining them in a way that is soft? Okay, so for Second Life, all the items here, whether it's a necklace, whether it's hair, is defined in a way that is hard. As in, like if you buy a hair avatar, you don't need to position it. It will automatically stick to your head. Okay, you might be able to move it up and down. You can even like do crazy things to it, sure, but like by default, it actually sticks to your head, right? Because it's part of the avatar that is embedded into the head, onto the head. For CryptoVoxels, unfortunately, the blockchain is slow today. CryptoVoxels was a bit slow today, so I I couldn't see a lot of things here. A lot of things didn't load, but like this is a backpack. Okay, so if Second Life, you use the Second Life philosophy, then this backpack would appear on my back, right? But it doesn't. Like if you load it, it will appear random. I think it appears on my chest or something. So you have to move it manually so that it fits the avatar. You'll see a lot of this actually in CryptoVoxels. The way it's designed is that you can basically customize it, in any way that you like, which is actually pretty cool. But for people who are newbies, it's harder to create a new avatar. Okay. This is Somnium Space, and Somnium Space, actually the way it's done, it's very similar to Second Life. You can basically recreate things. You can recreate the size of your arms, recreate the size of your head. Cool thing is you can tokenize your own avatar and then you can sell it. This is what I mentioned in CryptoVoxels. You notice this little octopus on my head. That was not a hat. It was a voxel that I randomly put there. This is a logo for one of my companies. It's supposed to be a badge on my chest, but I put it there. This is also a badge on my chest, but I put it on my laptop, for example. So it depends on your creativity for this. Now, for Reality Chain, we choose to basically do this in a way that is hard instead of soft. So it's hardly defined and toughly defined, so to speak. So hair is on hair, head is on head. This actually, we think it makes it easier for people to onboard. And it would be really cool as well in terms of like, if you're a hairdresser, for example, you can sell hair as NFTs, like hairstyles as NFTs. And put it within Reality Chain. Social and access, and we're zooming in really hard now. Zoom so deep that I don't have graphics, unfortunately, but this is sort of like the differentiation between all of these metaverses for Second Life, Somnium Space, CryptoVoxels, and Reality Chain. You can see that here. All of these metaverses actually already have voice chat, video chat, or in-world streaming. Okay, but there are issues in terms of some of them, in terms of accessibility. So avatar registration is always required for entry here. Not in Somnium Space. Well, arguably you still need, but like it's easier. CryptoVoxels, you don't need it. Reality Chain, you don't need it. For client, you have to download applications, while CryptoVoxels and Reality Chain are web-based. And then this is actually quite important. Second Life and Open Simulator, as well as Somnium Space, do not have mobile access. You can try it now. They do have web, and web can load on mobile, but like it's not rated for mobile, so it sometimes doesn't load. Okay, so CryptoVoxels and Reality Chain both have mobile access and has mobile access, full access. Now, here's the point. Like the way we designed Reality Chain and the way Ben Nolan designed CryptoVoxels is to ensure that you can jump in world as quickly as possible without registration. This will allow the metaverse to basically cross over to real life. You can have a concert and then have a QR code saying jump into the metaverse now, and during your concert, your friends, your audience can be in world talking to you. In fact, Reality Chain has done several concerts as well with that kind of stuff. Okay, so that's the way our philosophy is built. And and we want to basically share with you how to build on Reality Chain. If you're an artist, well, this will be very interesting for you. If you're a developer, there might be some things here that might be interesting for you as well. So I'm going to give this over to our CEO, Adam. And Adam, would you like to share your screen so you can move back and forth easily?
All right, sure. Thank you, Panda.
You're welcome.
Okay, everybody. So let us jump into a little bit about the creation on top of the metaverse. This is what we call the metaverse experience builder or creator. That I think we think this is gonna be the next hit in the economic era. Why? Because the metaverse is enabling new type of job opportunity in the future. I think right now it's already happening. One is the metaverse developers, something that we are doing in Reality Chain. We create the metaverse, we maintain the metaverse, so the skills needed is mostly for like developers, UX designer, architect, designer, artist, something like that on the Metaverse developers. And on the experience creator, this is something that I think new, something that can happen because of Metaverse gives opportunities to a lot of new jobs happens. For example, an experienced designer, a game developers on top of a Metaverse, an artist to build NFT, and a lot of things can happen. And the other one is the Metaverse economy. A lot of things that already happens in real life can also be translated into the Metaverse. For example, if your job is in sales and you need to place ads and you need to put your products on the street, this is something that already also can happen in the Metaverse. So what we are going to focus is more in the experience creator, how we as a creator, as a developer, as an artist, as a designers can get something in this Metaverse era. Pandu already mentioned the items inside of the Metaverse, and I think this is also very, very popular in the gaming side. For example, if you play Fortnite, you can see a lot of option of avatars. If you play The Sims, they even have a package for the furniture for you to buy. So this is already popular, and a lot of people crafting for this kind of thing. And not only consuming, as Pandu mentioned, a lot of games or metaverse also have demand for people to trade, to buy or to sell a lot of digital items. But before the metaverse, before the blockchain, all of this is very hard to do, and all of the revenue from the transaction is running to the company. But now in this era, in this metaverse and blockchain era, all of the value generated, especially economically, from the metaverse activity, from creating, selling, owning something, renting something, it will distribute it to all of the members of the community. So this is really interesting, and I want to share with you what you can build as a creators on top of reality check. So we divide it into two kind of thing. We call it utility NFTs. One is avatars, and the other one is furniture or decoration. And why this is gonna be interesting? Because we are launching competition or bounties for each of you who wants to design. Maybe you're a designer, you're an artist, pixel artist, or you want to try to create something. Reality Chain have a bounties. We have total price for $2,000 for 10 winners. You have months to try to be creative and create either avatar or furniture. For more information, you can visit our documentation in here, or if you have any question regarding these bounties, you can email us. So I'm just gonna run through quickly about the process of creating avatar or furniture, because everything is already here on the link, so you can read it on later. So first one is the avatars. So how can you make a 3D avatar for reality check? We divided avatar into four main parts. One is the head, the second one is the face, and then the top and the bottom. This is our avatar system. What you need to create is only the head, one side of the hand, the body, the torso, the thigh, the knee, and the foot. So this is only the part that you need to create. The other side, for example, the left side of your legs, we can do it technically using the program itself. And the other one regarding the avatar, you need to create or choose whether you want to create for male or female bodies. This is a little bit about technical, so if later on you still have any question regarding the technical, you can always contact us in the Discord server or you can email us. This is how you create the head. So this is the shape of the head. Uh, the size need to be precise like this. And after that, you can also create the hair. But for the hair, you need to create two images. One is front view, and the other one is the back view. So the head, the hair. Next is the face. You can also design the face, the eyes, the nose, and mouth, and everything in one image. This is also have a very clear size that you need to follow. After the head, the other one is the body. This is for the torso. We divided the top part and the torso part, so you can create the t-shirt, or you can create the skirt or the pants for the avatars. After the torso, there's also hand. So you just need to create the left or right hand, and this is only for the cloth. So if you have a long sleeve, you can draw this all fully, or if you have short sleeve, you can put it only half on top. And this is the lower arm. If you want to put accessory, for example, a watch or something like that, you can put it here. And then this is the thigh. You can decide the thigh and the knee. So if you want to create a short pants, you just draw on this part. If you want to create a long one, you can also draw on this. And the last part is the shoe. So you can also create the shoe over here. And you need to create two. One is for the left and the other one is for the right. Alright, so we also have a template for you. You can easily download for the face and the body example, so it's easier for you to create. The other one is the furniture. I think this is also interesting because you can create a wall, you can create a decoration for the wall, you can create a tile, and you can also create the furniture. So for example, you can create a wall. What you need to do is you build a box like this. So this is the size and the shape, and you can create any kind of design on top of this guideline. And later on, we can put it on the reality chain, and we can set it as a part of the tools to build your walls. And the other one is the decoration. You can create posters, you can create an image, you can create anything to put on the wall. So there's no strict guideline regarding this part, because as long as the size is enough in your wall area, we can put it there. The other part is the tile. So you just need to design one part of the tiles like this, and then later on we can put it on your parcels. And for the object, there's a guideline for a small object, medium object, and large object. Don't worry, we also have a template for you to guide you to create the decoration. This is, for example, you can create a chair, and you need to create on two view. One is the front view, and the other one is the back view. So that's a quick introduction about how we can create or design the avatars and the objects. Next, you can also mint this. So right now we are collaborating with paras.id, the biggest NFT marketplace on top of Near. You can mint your design if you want over there. So I think you need to have a testnet wallet, and you can connect with the Near, with the Paras testnet too, and then you can easily create NFT. You can mint over there. This is step by step. I think it's very easy. But the thing that you need to very consider is once you are trying to fill in the metadata, for example like this. So we have additional attribution that you need to input if you want to create an object. For example, if you want to create a wall, make sure you put these attributes over here. The type is wall, or the type is furniture, in here to make sure the engine can read what kind of NFTs that you're making and how to put it into the system. And if the NFT has an interaction, for example, a chair and a bed, you can put it here. So if it's a chair, you can put interaction type a chair. If it's a bed, you can put interaction type a bed. If not, you can put it not, because the avatars can sit and sleep on your NFTs. So make sure to put it here if you want to add interaction. And offset, this is only if you create the furniture. So you can create this is by default, the offset X is 20 and the Y is 10, minus 10. So all of this you can read on our guidelines, so don't worry if it's too fast. So yeah, later on you can just minting, and then after this you can access in the reality chain world, in this world, myriad.com. So as long as the NFT is already on your wallet, on testnet, near testnet, you can log in using your testnet account into your Myriad. This is one of the metaverse that already run, the myriad.com, and you can see how exactly your utilities NFT that you created being used on top of reality chain. I think that's very easy because it's on 2D and it's pixel based, so everyone can join in. This is just our first engine because as a reality chain, we are Metaverse as a service. So we help brands, projects, and communities to spin up their own Metaverse. Right now, we already have the 2D version, and stay tuned because later on this year, we will also launch the 3D Metaverse if you want to have your own Metaverse. I think that's it from me. Pandu, you have anything more to add?
Yeah, I think this would be a very good exercise for the artists in the room. And remember, we do have bounties. The bounties will be delivered to those who win, those who we judge to be worthy of actually being put inside the reality chain world. We are going to be launching soon. We already have like the testnet up. There are multiple testnets up. Again, as Adam said, we basically create metaverses for projects. We basically help them build new metaverses in a way that is very decentralized. So you can stake tokens to basically generate a metaverse with us. And be as creative as you can and try to get our bounties. And it should be very easy actually to just create a new creative item that we don't have in world yet. Right?
All right.
Cool. Thanks, guys. What a fantastic talk. Like I have so much to talk about. Usually what I like to do is just give the audience a moment if they have any questions. And if they don't, I'll get straight into it because fantastic. So if if you have any questions or comments, please either comment in the chat section or just feel free to unmute yourself and then start speaking. Cool. Once again, I'd just like to remind everyone this talk is recorded and will be put on YouTube in the next 24 hours or so. Cool. Pandu, I loved your introduction at the beginning, right? Because I really feel like it laid down the conceptual framework and almost to a touch of the philosophical framework for the metaverse. And as you said, when you go back to like Buddhism, or even other kind of civilizations, the reality is that there's different interpretations of our existence, right? Of our physical existence. And you have the scholars who would consider about objects and about, people's thoughts of what was happening. And, there are kind of models out there, religious models or just, general perceptual models of the fact that maybe this is not the full reality. Maybe it's just a fragment of reality. Maybe there's other metaphysical realities. Maybe we have many personal realities, but we have many lifetimes, right? And we're absolutely convinced of this lifetime and this experience, but then it fades away and then we go to the next lifetime. And you can imagine, as you know, many models that can be constructed about what could be perceived as reality, right? And so, as metaphysical models. And so when we look at the metaverse with what we talked about today, it's really like a digital, logic-based, deterministic metaverse, right? Where we're using like logic, right? And that's a key distinction that I feel like a lot of people lose awareness of. It's like it could be true that there's many millions of different particular models of metaverses, or whatever word you want to use, metaphysical, high dimensional, whatever you want. And then now we're just creating a logical one based on bits, based on our five senses. And I really love that you pointed this out, because I feel like people really need to understand this when they're going in, to not lose the mind about it. It's like, maybe this is not so new. It's just a different iteration,
It's a different definition, and sort of like the key here is logical, and also the usage of computing, like the usage
computation.
Computation.
Yeah.
There is something else that is like you also logical, but not using computation, at least not in our scale, which is the simulation hypothesis.
Sure.
It just says that we are computed.
Yeah.
There's the universal computing that is computing us. There's also like the universe as hologram theory that is actually an actual theory that cosmological cosmogony that exists. That is also very logical. There's actually several steps of logic, but I think one thing that defines sort of like the way we do the metaverse right now, and the way the metaverses that we're talking about in all of these talks, is that it's practical.
Yes.
You use it for work. Later on you can use it for work. Right now you can use it for parties.
Sure.
I've had a lot of parties in the metaverse, and during the pandemic when everyone was locked down.
Yes.
I've met a lot of new friends.
Yeah. Absolutely.
Yeah, I have a life, and this is a funny story. I have a lifelong friend who I met in Second Life. He's my neighbor in Second Life, and we're neighbors just because we chose like parcels next to each other. But we became lifelong friends.
Yeah.
He's in Australia. We've never met in person, but he's on my Facebook. So
Sure.
that social immersion is even more real than just photorealistic games. Like, the immersion is real.
Absolutely. Probably the best way to kind of, it's like it's enabling new tools to enable a conscious experience. A conscious experience dictates, we've got to work. Okay, what new tools can be used to get that work done more efficiently? I want to express myself creatively, or want to enjoy time with my friends. What are new tools I can use? New novel ways. As humans, we seek novelty, right? So, these digital metaverses are going to expand the surface area of what we could consciously do, And so that's why I think I'm very fascinated to see this next push with regards to the Web3 slapped on top of metaverses, see how that plays out. It's very interesting.
It's actually one of the key focus of actually creating a real metaverse. The way we've always envisioned a metaverse is that it's a virtual community with physical analogies.
Yes.
The thing is, the way we created the metaverse, like back then when we did Second Life, when we did like all the other early metaverse, I forgot the names, but like virtual worlds, I think there's one that's called that. There's the way we created those were actually like centralized structures, right? The way they're central servers, some of them are actually trying to be decentralized, as in they try to be federated servers.
Sure.
But they're still centrally governed.
Yeah.
And you don't have central governance for items. Like if I own a phone, I own the phone.
Yeah.
Like the government doesn't own my phone.
Right.
And that's sort of like the way the elements of realism actually translates back into the requirement for Web3, which is why I kind of believe that sort of like the killer app, so to speak, for Web3. The killer app is obviously crypto, right?
Sure.
For decentralization. But the killer app for Web3, like, the redefinition of like not just crypto blockchain, the stuff that are more operational blockchain but decentralized. I think the killer app resides in the metaverse, in the way we are actually going to be interacting with these virtual worlds.
Yeah.
And I'm excited for that, and I'm pretty sure, like, you know, you've seen the way we are doing our metaverse. It's it looks like very cartoonish, very cute.
Sure.
We are creating like a 3D version as well, but like even the 2D version is very immersive actually, because you have actual ownership of everything in the world. You have actual ownership of the items, and you have actual communication socially with other avatars that we see, and you know that these avatars are are people with their own items and their own lives. That is more immersion. That is more immersive, rather than even photorealistic games, in our opinion.
100%. You know, the complexity enables you to identify with your own experience in it, so you can kind of build out as experience through the 2D metaverse. What I also do like, what I was reading is maybe your design philosophy for the reason why you did 2D and then maybe the artwork is it's not to replace the physical reality, is to be complementary to it. Right? And I really like this because we all know the multiple directions this can take. And what we don't want is someone plugged in 20 hours a day. Or that's like, it's probably the wrong direction, you know? So
the way we want to sort of like bring this back to like the 2D version, actually creating the 2D version first, is to ensure that a casual experience, a casual alternative to an experience actually exists in the metaverse as well. And actually having casual experiences, like how many times have you seen people playing like I don't know, Angry Birds or like Animal Crossing while waiting or while in line at a grocery shop? You won't see that with Second Life. You won't see that with even crypto voxels. That's super random. Like but like for what we're creating, because it's very casual, it's very easy, but also has social elements. You can actually just go grocery shopping and just open your phone while pushing the shopping cart, right? And just attend a concert while shopping for groceries. Just like right now, we chat while we shop for groceries, for example, right? But this is we're attending a concert or looking at images in a gallery. And that's the way we want to create. Like that's why our initial engine is something that's very 2D. It is deliberate. It's 100% Habbo Hotel.
Yeah, for sure.
But
well, it was clearly like very you thought very deeply about the user experience and you know the construction of the metaverse that you created, and like what is the immediate default action that a user takes when they initially interface, and if there is a default sense of obligation of a certain amount of energy or attention, which is like 5 minutes, then people will check out and go, oh, that's something I do at home when I'm on my desktop or my laptop, rather than, you know what I mean? Or like it might be 20 minutes, right? So I totally understand what you're saying. I've got so many comments here. You talk a bit about the issue with multi-chain interoperability, you know, and this is clearly, in my opinion, like an absolute crux issue that I'm so interested to hear your opinion on this, but from what I can tell, it's like you got your products that you're building out, and then you build partnerships and you try to somehow use an ad hoc bridge, you know, where you kind of combine with your metaverse and you're like, you know.
Yeah, so here's what we can do, and okay, well, I'm gonna start with what we can.
Sure.
So this project, please. Like my team has actually done a lot of like my actual other team, my dev team, my blockchain dev team, which is Blocksphere, and Almadao. So we've built a lot of like chains. Like we're very chain agnostic. So from the blockchain perspective, if we are asked to build a bridge, yes, we can.
Right.
But the reality chain scope, no, we're not going to build a bridge of our own in terms of a blockchain bridge. But what we can build is basically a metaverse bridge, where like you can have like one metaverse, like just like Second Life, there's one metaverse that connects to another metaverse, and you walk from one metaverse to the other. But the metaverse actually uses logins from different chains. Like first metaverse has a near login, for example. So you come in with a near login, you walk around, then you walk over or transport over to another metaverse or go into a subway or whatever, then appear in that other metaverse. And when you appear in the other metaverse, you need to connect to MetaMask. So this is sort of like the analogy of like, having like, if you go to Zapper5 or all the other like multi-chain DeFi
Yeah.
stuff that is out there, like once you can connect to other chains as well, right?
Right.
It's the same thing, like it's the same analogy. It's just using metaverses instead of websites.
Right.
And of course, this means that the NFTs are not carried over.
That's my next question. Yeah.
That's sort of the issue.
How do you share
That
state?
cannot be solved by reality chain. That needs to be solved by
a protocol
the people who are actually doing
or
NFT
bridge.
bridges. So in terms of reality, we are still going to be focusing on just making sure that the metaverses are at least interoperable. So, for example, I have parcels in the Near metaverse, using the Near protocol, of course. I have a lot of friends from from CryptoVoxels who bought land in reality chain, but in the Ethereum space, right?
Right.
In the Ethereum metaverse. And I have a party. I can invite them. They can come over. Once they come over, they might look different. They might revert back to the default.
Yeah. Gotcha.
Choose. I might not be able to see everything that they see, and vice versa. But we will be there. They would be able to interact with us, and we would still be able to have like this social immersion kind of thing going on. And of course, if they want to be active in multiple chains, so they probably would buy NFTs from multiple chains if they wanted to.
Right.
If they don't want to, they say like, Ethereum is the future. I'm just gonna buy everything on Ethereum, but I can still interact with Panda there at Near protocol.
Yeah.
That is sort of the way we do things anyway, right? Like without the metaverse, like within DeFi, within websites, that's what we do.
Yeah.
We have tokens. Some of us only have tokens in Avalanche, for example.
Yeah.
Plus Ethereum, but not on Near, and vice versa. Maybe there's someone who's only on Near, for example.
It's so fascinating because like basically what you're saying is like you can still share an experience, but your own personalization can't be transferred across because it requires confirmation of digital ownership of the NFTs, right? So that's so fascinating, and of course this NFT interoperability thing needs to be solved eventually because people can't keep on building their own ad hoc bridge. Like, it's a problem.
We don't want to have like sort of like this does not exist yet, but this is something that we are going to have at launch or near launch. We want to have like our community world, community test world, be like a multi-chain metaverse for real. Like when you log in, you can log in with any wallet, and you can import from any chains. That's sort of like we're going that test world. It's going to be a test world because there will be security issues if we directly move it to mainnet. But it would be a very it would be a very cool sort of like overview of what we can do. But it's possible. It's just the security issues might be a challenge there, or at least like people would be having like fake NFT on Solana and then passing them off as Ethereum NFTs because they look similar. Yeah, so there's still a lot of issues there, but we are going to be building something like that just to show that this is how it is if the blockchain metaverses all merge together.
Yeah.
Right? Like.
Yeah, absolutely. And it would help to paint it would show the vision of the future of what it can look like. You know what I mean? Like once we have, infrastructure solutions to allow us to truly interoperate, or at least interoperate seamlessly between a few chains, maybe it'll pop up like that, like 3 chains work together and they interoperate really well, and then the other ones, who knows, right? But it's clear it needs to happen, and it is the future. Who knows how long it will take though, because you can imagine, you got your metaverse, but then what if you got like a drastically different type of metaverse, but you got items on there you want to transfer, like you got a sword or something, so clear problem that needs to be solved. So what else do we have here? I think yes, audience.
Hello.
You're back.
Yeah.
Oh, did I pop out?
Yes. You were disconnected.
Your last
Yeah.
few sentences, actually.
Yeah. Okay. I'm glad I didn't pop out halfway through the call like last time. Bloody hell. So. Do you feel like there's So we had a talk on the Metaverse UX, which you guys actually tapped onto a lot about Metaverse UX in this call. We had a call a few days ago about someone focusing the entire talk on the Metaverse UX, and we kind of reluctantly mutually agreed that when you have you got hardware, like for example, your product that you focus on is like non-fully immersive, so technically you can just jump on either your phone or your keyboard or whatever. But you're gonna have other metaverses that are gonna be fully immersive, right? And they're gonna have hardware companies that are building hardware that takes a long time to build like a good products. What do you feel like is the future or the landscape of what's going to look like? We have companies like Meta and Apple and maybe even Amazon and other companies providing offerings. What do you think? Do you think they are really going to be able to successfully do a huge land grab or do you feel like no matter how hard they try, there's still going to be opportunity?
I feel that it really depends on how the crypto community, the crypto metaverse community, will be sort of like strategizing together and not just as each project. But like strategizing together. Meta has the power of being entrenched in a lot of the tech spaces and having access to a lot of the talent, right? We also have a lot of talent. We also have a lot of money, but these are separated in different NFT projects, different PFP projects, right? Different metaverse projects. This lack of interoperability is actually really bad. It's actually really important to actually have a unified front and have a unified way of communicating with each other. One thing that is that was sort of like during my discussions with other metaverses that could be like an idea is let's have cross-world chats, for example. Like even if they're different metaverses, like Crypto Voxels and Reality Chain, they look totally different. One is 3D, one is 2D. We can't share a lot of assets. But what if we can chat from basically from Crypto Voxels, I can chat to Reality Chain.
Sure.
Even doing that.
Yeah.
And then something that we're already doing, like when we do concerts within Reality Chain, we stream the same concert to both Reality Chain and into Crypto Voxels.
Right.
The same, right? So
gotcha.
That's sort of like even though it's not a unified experience, it's not a unified experience now. With the more smarter people that can do UX better, we can even have what I would feel is the holy grail is the ability to be on my VR device at home when I want to basically fully immerse myself, when I want to be on stage for a concert for thousands of people, and then I finish the concert, I still want to be in world. I take off the VR goggles and I go on my laptop and listen to the music and it's a full sound system and I have to go out for groceries. I close my laptop, I go on my phone, I bring my phone, it becomes
still
the same concert.
Gotcha.
Still the same concert, I'm still listening from my Bluetooth device and I'm still walking around, I'm still talking to people. Just outside. So that's sort of the holy grail. Seamless transition between experiences. We're not there yet. We're not there yet. We're not expecting to be there yet. But imagine having that. Imagine having that and having that cross metaverse and cross chains.
Absolutely. So obviously, once again, huge focus on UX, and the number one, the added difficulty on top is the Web3 layer, right? So we need to combine forces to some extent. It might be based on market demands, like maybe you got two popular metaverses. There seems to be some similarity in demographics and themes. So from a market perspective, it makes sense to start integrating that experience, right? That could make a lot of sense. Because if you think about the many different permutations of metaverses, and you think about all the different combinatorial ways you can combine the experience of it, it turns to millions of combinations, right? So obviously you do a market, the market will determine. But then
the market is demanded as well. Here's the thing: when you buy an NFT in one world, the market hasn't realized this, but they will. If you have the Bored Apes metaverse, right? Bored Apes Metaverse, you can only access or buy land with a Bored Apes NFT.
Yeah,
right?
yeah.
That's a limited amount of people, man. Like
Yeah.
when you do a concert, that's not going to be a lot of people coming in. Probably there's only going to be people coming in just for the concert,
Sure.
if they allow it. But after that, it would be an empty world.
Yeah.
It wouldn't be fun. And the metaverse is not like a game. Like the way a metaverse becomes fun is if you have social interactions within that. So
Yes.
rather, we're sort of like at the birth of proto metaverses that are very balkanized. Like,
Yeah.
And what I feel is that users are going to be demanding, like, hey, what apes? Let's connect to these tubby cats or whatever, tubby cat metaverse,
Yeah.
or Wasi, or I don't know, like all of these other metaverses. And to be frank, a lot of NFTs are promising to create a metaverse without actually knowing what it is.
Yeah.
Some of them are actually just creating games.
Yeah.
And they're certainly not thinking about interoperability. So
Yeah.
the second part of this is the need for interoperability to be built in. And
Yes.
yeah, I'm sort of like, sometimes I'm reminded of this is an old Dilbert comic strip, right? And the Dilbert comic strip says that, oh, this is bad. We for this thing, for this item, we already have 21 competing standards. Then, oh, let's fix this. They went to the room and then they created the competing standard number 22. so they're not. So that's actually so reality chain. You could say, are we creating competing standard number 22?
Right.
We're not, because we're actually trying to. So first of all, we're trying to ensure that we can be tools for people who want to create their own metaverse, and
Sure.
a tool that is decentralized. Like you can stake tokens to basically create a whole metaverse.
Yeah.
That's like the vision of the reality game. And secondly, we're very focused on interoperability. So one of the things that are very interesting for us, in fact, is trying to find ways to have interoperability with the metaverses and ensuring that they can link to us.
Yes.
Yeah.
Yes.
It needs to be wide open world. The metaverse is a single thing in Neil Stephenson's Snow Crash. It's not multiple things.
It is. You're absolutely right. Like, once again, conceptually, this is just one big metaverse. It's a digital, to some extent, logic-based system where we can experience and enhance, hopefully, a conscious experience. It's all bucketed on the same conceptual thing, right? But then, we're kind of bracketing up, and so we've got a lot of projects, of course, through the bull market, and also because of how early we are, the focus on maintaining scarcity, right? In order to basically keep the prices up. Like, I'm just gonna say, and some metaverses are doing it, and that's fine. And the reality is, you can do that to an extent, but eventually you need to be compelled to provide value to people who demand something. You can't just artificially create scarcity while not also meeting demand of the community. You know what I mean? And
that's also one of the things that this relates to how NFTs create scarcity, but also relates to how metaverses create scarcity, right? Like the way Second Life was basically the only game in town back then. Like they're the only the dominant metaverse. Like if you're a metaverse person back then, the only place you go is Second Life.
right.
So that's how they were able to create scarcity, because like they were minting land, they were creating new land all the time.
Right.
But it's still scarce because they're the only game in town. Now we're not at that phase anymore. Like it's computing is a lot cheaper. You can self-host your own metaverse anywhere. So what you need to focus on, like what we are focusing on, what Reality Chain is focusing on, is basically the ease of entry, trying to getting in easy, and the accessibility of building. So
Yes.
you don't have to have like a large computer to basically do activities within the world, including building. And that is actually like sort of like the key point, since a huge chunk of the third world and even a huge chunk of the first and second world are on phones.
Yes.
So if you have a metaverse that is like unloadable on phones, that's not going to be that is not going to have mass adoption. That is not going to be hyperscale.
100%. 100%.
So focus on being the hyperscale application first, and then from a strategic perspective, use that as the generator for scarcity.
Yeah.
And the generator for scarcity also is the way we're creating tokenomics. The tokenomics that we're creating
Yeah.
is the tokenomics that we're creating are also like, if you want to generate a metaverse, a new metaverse, you need to stake the tokens.
Yes.
Yeah.
Yeah, gotcha.
One sec, guys. I have to.
No,
There's
but
a leak in my room.
oh no.
One sec.
That's okay. We'll go Adam. So
First world problems.
so another comment that I have with regards to scarcity, and we've talked about before how the reality is that these digital metaverses are really about kind of creating analogous experiences to some extent because it's relatable to us. You can imagine down the line, once you kind of build out these metaverses and understand kind of how people operate, we can create novel metaverse-only experiences. But for now, it's like quite analogous. And with regards to scarcity, what makes things scarce in reality? Well, one aspect is prosperity. So, for example, you're in an area, and then rich people, prominent people, people who have higher social status buy in the area. People's perception of that area goes up. Therefore, people will pay more. So it's like scarcity is also a representation of the social graph in the metaverse. So as you build out the community, scarcity wouldn't even necessarily need to be built in the token economics or anything. It would just be a reflection of the social graph of your community and the interaction and the behavior in the metaverse. You know, so once again, we might have like these proto-verses where, you know, constructions are done to artificially keep scarcity, but eventually once your community is built out and people are actually using your products, then I think it will pop up naturally, you know. And so, so I guess from that point of view, long term, you should be once again compelled by the value that you provide to the community and listen to the demands of the community, because it should pop up. You know, I mean, the scarcity should pop up, and then all the other tools like NFTs and, you know, your own tokenomics will just support, you know, what happens with your community and the social graph and the shared ownership and stuff like that. You know, so clearly some projects might have a more short-term view. So it is what it is, I guess.
This is gonna be the space for different kind of community will interact, will gather and do activities. For example, you may have a metaverse that is being run by a musician. You will have a metaverse that will be run by artists, painters, or something like that. And what they do, the activity, the social interaction that they do, will define what kind of communities over there. And also by having NFTs, they can create, for example, like the artworks, music, anything that become valuable, become scarcity also by the community, because they respect each other.
Yes.
They do interaction together, and they have the same way of thinking of what is valuable. Who is like the most recognizable artist, or the one who has like something like, oh, this is cool. Let's wait for next, I don't know, statue that they will create and we can buy and put it in our house, something like that. So this is gonna be the new kind of like social interaction and value in the digital world.
Yeah, I couldn't agree more. To kind of maybe wrap up a bit, I'm very interested. You know, in pop culture, there's perceptions of metaverses. I mean, the most common and, you know, cliche is obviously the Matrix, right? Like that's very dystopian, right? But there's many other examples of what metaverses could look like. What do you think? Are you optimistic of where the metaverse is going to go in the next 20 to 30 years, right? So you've got companies building hardware products of various layers and capabilities, and which way do you reckon humanity go? Do you think that the general population will seek to envelop themselves 16 hours a day and basically forget the world? And do you reckon that's the direction we're going to take? Or do you feel like maybe as per more your, your philosophical, values of the current product you have, which is the humanity will be able to see it's just a tool for your life and you shouldn't escape. Because I want to be optimistic that we'll build metaverse technology, and in general, the consensus will be that it's a lot of fun. We can have 4 haptic feedback, maybe 5 haptic feedback experiences, but we also understand that it's just a digital metaverse, and as per our conversation before, there's potentially millions of other models of metaverses, and that is just one slot. And I hope that we recognize that, because I don't want the entire world stooping into escapism. So I'm just interested, maybe both Adam and Panda, if you guys can maybe give your personal opinion.
So I have a long view and a short view.
Sure.
The short view is that the metaverse is going to have a lot of it's going to be something that okay. So 10 years ago, when I first started working 10 years ago, we didn't really think that chatting on WhatsApp or on Telegram or Discord would be the dominant way for us to interact with other people in the office.
Right.
Here we are. Most of our work is done via chat.
Yes.
This is not just the Web3 people. I was working for IBM back in 2017, and they were already doing that. Chatting becomes basically the way you interact. Now, where are we now? We're currently and of course Zoom. A couple of years ago, people weren't thinking of actually using Zoom unless, well, they do know what Zoom is, but they don't use Zoom constantly.
Yeah.
Right? Now, we're now at the phase where the metaverse is here, and people are saying that you're gonna work in the metaverse, but a lot of people are not believing it. And the thing is, the short-term view. In 3 to 5 years, everyone is going to be using a metaverse of one fashion or another, whether 2D or 3D, to execute their work. I think that's something that's a no-brainer. That's going to be a tool. It's going to be one of the tools. Zoom, again, we're face to face, but we're not physically together. Within a metaverse, we can walk through my building and go through stuff.
You can control proximity to the person, all these.
Converse person to person, give you things. Hey, this is my NFT. Check it out. This is my NFT. Within it is a document. Can you unfurl it?
Sure.
Let's edit this document together. Stuff like that, right?
Yeah.
So that's the short view. Now I have a long view, and the long view is not the views of my company; it's the views of myself.
Sure. Well, I did ask personal.
My view is that even if we become a race that mediates their entire reality through digital devices, that's not going to be a bad thing.
Sure.
And even if we reduce ourselves to just being a mind in a box, that is also not a bad thing. So I'm pro brain uploads, basically, and
Sure.
I'm pro transhumanism. It's not terrible to actually have that, and the way towards true transhumanism with with enjoyable elements for humanity is by basically creating the baseline, which is the creation of these current proto metaverses. Because at the end of the day, it's going to be the Neil Stephenson large metaverse, a singular metaverse where all our minds can interact with each other. That's sort of my view, and that's going to be the future. It sounds dystopian, but I personally believe it's not.
Sure, absolutely. Thanks so much for that. Adam?
Yes. Maybe I'm gonna add from different kind of angle, right?
Sure.
So rather than talking about this is gonna destroy our future, something like that. What I really like is this kind of technology will give opportunities for people with disabilities. Maybe they have issue with their I don't know, they cannot walk, they cannot hear, something like that. All the future, all the interaction, all the jobs that is available right now that they can not achieve, it's gonna be accessible for them. Like the avatar, even when you're injured, you can still go into the battle. I think this open up a lot of opportunity for people who have different kind of non-privilege, maybe not only physically but demographically, something like that. So I think this is gonna be exciting for them.
Yeah, absolutely.
I'd like to actually add to that. I had an idea, like we haven't implemented, like because we're so busy, right, Adam? But I had an idea of making like reality can have full accessibility for the visually impaired, for blind people. So it's like, you know, it's just voiceover, right? Like
Yeah.
you're alone inside a room. You walk forward, you're in a garden, stuff like that. Then making audio descriptions come into that, like it's just a tough job, but it's possible. It's very possible, and
Yeah.
even blind people can enter the metaverse in that sense.
That would that would be very fascinating if you were to partner with like a research group or something, or like an institution or something, where you've got some sources that you're willing to allocate, and you take a trial, you know, and you got like you got your metaverse that you've dedicated to. Like that would be fascinating to see, like studies done on that. You know what I mean? To
I
actually.
think that'd be a very interesting study. Like, just make a circle around the avatar, and around this, what's within the circle is like there's a wall, there's a logo, there's a, and then list it down, and then like have like a computer voice, basically text to speech it, and sort of like list down, and then like interact with chair. You just, instead of clicking the chair, for blind people you can just I don't know, either say interact with chair or press an action button. It's interesting, right? Like
Yeah.
I think it's very possible, and it's not just for reality. Of course, like other metaverses can do the same thing.
Yes. Well, to me, it's extremely clear that as adoption gets larger, like the surface of adoption grows, then your niche parts of that of certain demographics are going to grow, and then there's going to be enough demand then for a project to allocate some funding, work with an institution to do comprehensive studies to inform design making and to inform UX in the future, you know. And who knows if it's an open source project that does it or a Meta that does it, you know, who knows, right? Like, you know, studies are still going to be produced, you know, so.
We're open to collaborate with anyone who can help us build this. By the way, like for the current hackathon, it's just to create a utility NFT. But like if you have an idea that connects to us in any way, like then you have, you can contribute your time or expertise. Let us know. Like we're open to that as well.
Absolutely. Well, I mean, that's one of the main points of having a bounty platform. Of course, you can do a bit of work, earn some money, but really, it's about an entry point to building rapport with people and projects, building certain value, and in ways in which you wouldn't otherwise be able to do. Like, for example, how would someone randomly get an hour of your time or half an hour of your time? It's not going to happen, you know, like unless you will it, you know. But if you issue the bounty and it's kind of your role in the company, and then someone fills the bounty, then you're going to be talking to the person, because, you know, like you're the person that's going to control whether or not the bounty gets released. You know, so for people in the industry that want to onboard, the bounty platform and fulfilling the bounty is your opportunity to enter the space. So if you want to be in the metaverse and you want to build relationships, you do the bounty. Like, you know what I mean? So, you know, that's why we have the platform. So, anyway, we've been going on for quite a while. This talk is fantastic. Thank you so much, Panda and Adam, for your time and for your insight and your experience. And let's hope that things turn out okay. So thank you for coming.